On to that big story which is defining the news agenda in the country. 9 people have lost their lives as the Dalit protests turned violent across the country. The protests were held to oppose a recent Supreme Court ruling that there should be no immediate arrest of public servants under the SC/ST Act. Now, the protesters vandalized government properties. They even disrupted rail services in Bihar, in Odisha, and of course in New Delhi as well. Commuters in Rajasthan, in fact, were left stranded as the protests hit the bus services as well. Protesters even ended up pelting stones at cops in Faridabad. Meanwhile, the centre has moved to the Supreme Court seeking a review of its recent judgment into this particular matter. Section 144 has been imposed in CRPC section of social media in Bhopal, and Madhya Pradesh government has announced 4 lakh rupees to each of the kin of those killed in Dalit protests.
4 Christians have been shot dead in Pakistan's Balochistan province. Terror group Islamic State's affiliate in Afghanistan and Pakistan, the Islamic State Khorasan, has claimed responsibility for the attack. The incident occurred in a Christian majority neighborhood in Balochistan's capital, Quetta. A child was also injured in the attack and is receiving treatment at a local hospital. Balochistan police chief said that the initial investigations revealed the people were targeted because of their faith.
The shots rang out just before 1 p.m. Tuesday, lunch hour for hundreds of workers at YouTube's headquarters.
We have a report of subject with a gun. They heard 7 to 8 shots being fired. This will be from the YouTube building.
Police responding to the active shooter in minutes, racing onto the YouTube campus along with SWAT teams and paramedics as terrified employees streamed out of the complex with their hands raised. 3 people shot, 2 women and a man who was the most seriously injured.
They identified a female in a white shirt. That's the one we have down in the center court area with the gunshot wound in the chest.
Overnight, police identified the shooter as 39-year-old Nasima Akdam, a woman who last lived in the San Diego area.
Oil polluting the bay of the city of Balikpapan and several nearby villages. The spill has spread over an area of around 12 square kilometers. Residents have complained of a strong smell of fuel in the area. Hundreds have reported health issues, such as nausea and vomiting. Police have warned against lighting fires. On Saturday, shortly after the spill was first noticed, a fire broke out in the water near a Chinese cargo ship. 5 fishermen who were in a small boat in the bay at the time died.
The video of Conor McGregor's attack, obtained by TMZ Sports, captures one of the most popular and wealthiest fighters in the world in a melee. In handcuffs today, McGregor charged with 3 counts of assault and 1 count of criminal mischief. The video at Brooklyn's Barclays Center shows the Ultimate Fighting champ tossing a dolly into a bus, injuring 2 fighters inside during the attack.
Who are these guys? This is McGregor. It's Conor.
McGregor, who's losing his title for not defending it, came to Barclays uninvited, where a new champ will be crowned this weekend.
And we begin with a Fox News alert. Almost 1 century after chemical weapons were banned by the civilized world after their horrific use in World War I, we are sadly witnessing another suspected chemical attack in Syria. Activists say at least 40 people were killed, hundreds wounded, in a targeted attack on a hospital in a rebel-held city east of Damascus.
Now, staying with international news, 5 people have been killed and 15 others injured in a shooting spree at a popular nightclub in the Mexican resort town of Cancun. Officials say the gunman entered the Blue Parrot nightclub in the early hours of Monday morning local time before exchanging fire with another person in the venue. The local Attorney General says it was not a terrorist attack, but was probably the result of a disagreement between the 2 shooters inside.
A bill that cracks down on websites that facilitate sex trafficking is now law. President Trump signed the Stop Enabling Sex Traffickers Act today. North Dakota Senator Heidi was part of a group of 5 bipartisan lawmakers to introduce the bill. Some sites that facilitate sex trafficking, like Backpage.com, have already been shut down, and Craigslist has closed its personal ads section.
In South Carolina, 7 inmates are dead and more than a dozen are wounded after a riot broke out inside a maximum security prison. An inmate who witnessed the incident said he saw bodies stacked up on each other and that correctional officers didn't do anything to stop the violence or help the injured. No guards were wounded in the riot. Now, the fight broke out last night at Lee Correctional Institution, that's in Lee County. It took officers more than 7 hours to contain the fight. A coroner says most inmates died after being stabbed with homemade knives or slashed.
It was a message to the nation and the world.
North Korea will stop nuclear tests and launches of intercontinental ballistic missiles from today. To guarantee suspension of nuclear tests in a transparent manner, the Northern Nuclear Test Site will be abolished.
Kim Jong-un told his people the country would pursue economic development and peace on the peninsula. It's a bold gesture, largely a symbolic one.
North Korea no longer needs to conduct nuclear testing or intercontinental ballistic missile tests because it has completed its goal of developing nuclear weapons.
Yeah, good morning. This rally is being called We Won't Be Next, and it comes on the 19th anniversary of the shooting at Columbine High School. Now, since the shooting at that Florida high school back in February, there have been a number of student-led protests and walkouts across the country. Now, students participating in this event are pushing for a change in gun laws. On the group's website, it says this is not just about concern over shootings at schools. They're concerned about gang violence, domestic violence, suicides, and other ways that guns are used to end lives. Students from high schools in Snohomish and King County are planning to participate. Last night at a community meeting in Burien, one student encouraged community members to come out and join them and support them in this cause.
China has confirmed that dozens of Chinese tourists and 4 North Koreans were killed on Sunday night after a bus crash in North Korea's Hwanghae-bukdo province. Footage from Chinese state media showed the blue tour bus flipped over with part of its body broken. Now, there are no details about what caused the accident, but it's still being investigated, and China says it's in close communication with North Korea. Chinese President Xi Jinping has pressed North Korea to make all-out efforts to treat the 2 surviving Chinese tourists who were critically injured and to handle the affairs of the 32 who died.
13 children were killed when their school bus was hit by a train at an unmanned railway crossing in Uttar Pradesh's Kushinagar this morning. Several others were injured in the accident. Expressing condolence, Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath announced ex gratia of rupees 2 lakh for the families of the victims. He also directed Commissioner Gorakhpur to conduct an inquiry into the accident.
There was a twin suicide bombing in Afghanistan this morning. The target was a British compound in Kabul. At least 10 people were killed there. And CBS News correspondent Mandy Clark is in Kabul this morning. Mandy, good morning.
Good morning. Well, the siege of the British compound lasted roughly 9.5 hours as police struggled to take down the insurgents, and at least 3 foreign nationals were pulled out to safety.
At dawn, 2 car bombs exploded outside the British aid office, one breaching the gate, allowing insurgents to enter the compound. Suicide bombers and attackers armed with machine guns and rocket-propelled grenades stormed in.
The Taliban has claimed responsibility for this well-choreographed attack and said it was to mark the anniversary of Afghanistan's independence from Great Britain.